Hi everyone, welcome back. Time for a mixture of fractions when they're all of them. So people then get mixed up, they walk into assessment and go, oh, I can't remember which one to do, when, and then they're in trouble. So let's come back to this one being a multiplication. Easy part about the multiplication, you can just go multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms, which I drive people crazy with, but it works. But if you multiply these, you're going to have the 12 and you're going to have a 36, and then people struggle with the cancelling, and they will actually struggle with the calculations here. So if you notice that there's a 4 on the top and the 4 on the bottom, you can go 4 into 4 is once, and 4 into 4 goes once as well. Only if it's a top and bottom, or you're multiplying with a top and bottom. So they can go straight up and down from each other, or they can go across from a numerator to a denominator. Doesn't matter which way you go. And now we've got our 3 times tables. So if I divide this one by 3, I get 1. I divide this one by 3, I get 3. And the answer when you multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms is 1 on 3. If you didn't do that, a lot of people are okay. They'll go 3 4s are 12, and they'll go 4 9s are 36, and then they've got to simplify that. Most people will be okay. A lot of people don't notice that they're the 12 times tables. So if I halve the top and I halve the bottom, some people will struggle with that. And then I'd have to halve the top and halve the bottom. And then some people struggle with that they're 3s, and then they go 3 into that's 1 and 3 into that's 3. Okay, and for this one, people talk about common denominators and go through all that, and I know I've talked in it in the previous videos, but I'm talking about cross multiply. There are some slight problems with cross multiplication. Not really. I'll show you where there's a slight problem on number 4, and we can show you how to fix that one up. But when it gets to really hard maths and the algebra is involved, oh, it's fantastic. It saves a lot of hassle and a lot of thinking. So the cross multiply is always start here, keep nagging about it. If you were confident and you knew what you were doing, it really doesn't matter where you start. But when it comes to subtraction, you need to start up here on the left, because it's where people go wrong and make mistakes. So it's that pair and it's that pair. So really you're going that pair, and then you multiply the bottom. Now by the way, if you're used to getting lowest common denominators, a lot of people go 3 4s are 12. So we're doing nothing different to that. That's just what we normally do. But I'm going to go 2 times 4. Some people put the cross like this. 2 times 4 is 8, so you put the 8 there. 1 times 3 is 3, and we're doing an addition, and the 3 4s are 12. So really that's the same as getting the lowest common multiple and all that sort of stuff. So we end up with 11 on 12. By the way, if you did it the other way, how do I turn a 3 and a 4 into their lowest common denominator? 3 4s are 12. How do I go from a 3 to a 12? I times it by 4. So if I multiply the bottom by 4, I multiply the top by 4, and there's that 8. How do I turn a 4 into a 12? I multiply the 4 by 3, I multiply the bottom by 3, I multiply the top by 3, and that's where I get that 3 from. So you can see it works the same. And it always works really well and has no problems, except when you've got to simplify the fractions at the end. But most people simplify fractions all the time anyway. Go to this one over here. There's really only one rule, and that is invert and multiply. Hasn't changed since I was a child. Invert and multiply. So invert means upside down, so you could write that means upside down. So you go, which one upside down? Not the front one, it's the back one. So this one goes upside down. So you turn that into an 8 on 5. So that's invert and multiply. You're not turn the first one upside down. It's only the last one turns upside down. Now we're back to the same as question 1. So if you're one of those people that goes multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms, you'll go 24 on 20, and there's a lot of people have trouble with that cancelling. Let's have a look at it here. 4 and 8 are both even, so I could halve them, but I deliberately made it a 4 and an 8 because really that's your 4 times tables, 4, 8, 12, 16. So 4 into 4 goes once and 4 into 8 goes twice. Now there's nothing else can simplify. We no longer have evens on the top and the bottom. We can't divide by 3. So that's where we come back to. Multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. So that's 3 2s are 6, 1 5s are 5. Now a lot of times it's acceptable to write 6 on 5, but if you're in year 7, 8, 9, most teachers will expect you to go 5. How many times does 5 go into 6? 5 goes into 6 once, and there's one remainder. In primary school, I used to write when I was a child, and some teachers still do it, they put REM for remainder. But we're talking about fifths. So if you split something into 5s, it's into fifths, it stays fifths. So you can see here that I've got one whole is 5 fifths, plus another 1 fifth is 6 fifths. So we've changed it back into what we call the mixed fraction. So over here it's called an improper fraction because the top's bigger than the bottom, and over when you change it into the whole numbers in the fraction, that's a mixed fraction. Last one. So I can go cross multiply, so I could go that and that. I could go lowest common denominator, we'll have a look at that in a moment. So starting here, every time you use cross multiplication, cross multiplying, you have to go 5 3s are 15, 1 6s are 6, and we did a subtraction, I do it without even thinking, and then 6 3s are 18. Now we're left with 9 on 18. Now a whole lot of people, let's look at this as a good case of it, a whole lot of people would look at that and see a half. So if you don't see the half, it doesn't always have to be a half, it can be all sorts of fractions. But if you don't see that, you can go 3 into 9 goes 3, and 3 into 18 goes 6, so we're talking about your 3 times tables. And if I want to muck people up, they're the ones that muck people up more than any others. So 3 into 9 goes 3, 3 into 18 goes 6, now our fraction is 3 6, and it's still the 3 times tables. So 3 into 3 goes once, so you could write it separately, and 3 into 6 goes twice, and you've got your half. Now if we didn't do it that way, so if I write that under here to leave myself some room, your other choice is that you change those into their lowest common denominator. So 5 6 minus 1/3. Now a lot of people will recognise, and this I'll put a line down here to keep them separated, that the lowest common denominator for 6 and 3 is just 6. Whereas on this one here we use the 18. So sometimes when you use cross multiplication, it will make the numbers bigger than if you use this method. So it's a choice. You can choose which one you prefer and which one you get used to. Even though I did lowest common denominator all my life, right through my schooling, I was really good at it. One day when I learnt more about cross multiplication, it saved me a lot of thinking and a lot of time. So if I turn this one into a 6, I have to turn that one into a 6, so 3 and 6 both go into 6. So this one stayed the same, so the top stayed the same. This one was times by 2 on the bottom, so you have to times by 2 on the top. And you end up with, remember the bottom stay the same, the denominator stay the same when you're adding and subtracting. So 5 take 2 is 3 on 6. You still end up with a situation where you have to simplify the fractions. That's where over the years I've found it's not a big problem. As long as people learn cross multiplication, there's students who just can't handle fractions and they take a long time to make sense of them, that it just gives them a fail-proof method that gets them through it. So then you're back to the 3 times tables. 3 into 3 goes once, 3 into 6 goes twice, and you've got the same answer of a half again. So there's a mixture. We haven't gone into lots of mixed fractions or anything. It's just the 4 basic cases. I hope it helps. If you're enjoying it, please just let your friends know.